Do you ever find yourself plugging the same holes in your business over and over again? You fix something and then you move on and you feel some relief. And then a few weeks later, maybe months, the same problem shows up again. It's like business Groundhog Day. You wake up, handle it, think you moved forward, and somehow you're right back in the same place. It's not always identical, but it's really familiar. Marketing falls off again. Hiring feels heavy again. And before you know it, you're elbow deep in client work again. If that sounds familiar, then you're going to love this week's episode of Weekly Momentum, because today I'm going to tell you exactly why that keeps happening and what you can do to shift out of the Groundhog Day loop. Welcome to this week's episode. It is a beautiful day here in Palm Springs. It's almost 100 degrees in February, crazy, which means I'll absolutely be heading to the pool after this episode. My daughter and stepdad are in town, so lots of fun to be had, and it's been just a great week of coaching. I've been on Zoom with some of the most capable, ambitious, thoughtful women and some men building incredible businesses. And one of the things that I absolutely love about still doing one-on-one coaching week after week is that every single conversation reveals something powerful, something that I get to also share with all of my amazing podcast listeners on this business journey too. Shout out to all of you all over the world who knew that I would have such a following, not only in the US and the UK, but also a shout out to France and to Finland. I'd love to hear more from you. So make sure you like, subscribe, and drop a comment, especially on my Get It Done Diva YouTube channel. And if you have questions or you'd like me to cover a topic on this podcast, just let me know in the comments. And also, before we get into solving that Groundhog Day loop in this episode, I want to remind you that I have a ton of great resources to help you stay in momentum on my website. That's getitdonediva.com. And I'm going to drop a link to my planners, my best-selling books, and my programs and coaching in the description below, just in case you're interested. What I really love about my one-on-one clients is, number one, I get to have my finger on the pulse, as I mentioned, but I also know what's going on in a lot of different industries. And so I'm not living in a bubble with this. So they have therapy practices, they're consultants, a lot of them are creatives, they're service providers. But what I've noticed is the same categories of problems keep showing up on repeat. So let me give you 3 examples of what I'm seeing all the time. The first problem I tend to see is around marketing. So what it looks like is that you might feel like you've lost a few clients, nothing dramatic, but enough to feel that your calendar has got a little bit more white space than you'd like. Your revenue, your bank account feels a little bit lighter than you want. And you get that quiet, uh-oh feeling. So what do? You go into action. You shoot out a couple of emails. You post a little bit on social media more than usual. You message a few of your old leads or maybe even throw together a quick offer. And it works. A few inquiries come in. You book a couple of calls and you start to feel a little bit better. You think, okay, we're good. But here's what actually just happened. You didn't build marketing into your business. You just reacted to a dip. You threw stuff at it to handle it. You got some relief and then you moved on. And then client work fills back up. You get busy again. Marketing, or the idea of it, disappears again until you wobble and then you repeat it. Now, that's not a consistency problem. That's not even a marketing problem. It's a marketing systems lacking problem. You're only marketing when you're uncomfortable. And so you're living in this repeat, this cycle. The second area I see this is in hiring. So a lot of times business owners are hiring the person, not the position. You're overloaded. You finally decide, I need help. So you hire someone you like. They're smart. They're capable, they're motivated, and for a while it really works because they're very, very good. You hired a great person. They remember things. They anticipate what you need before you even tell them. They fill gaps. They save you, and it feels so much lighter. But here's what actually happened. They're holding all of the systems in their head. There is no documented workflow. You've got a great person, but no systems, no clearly defined outcomes. There's no actual position. It's a great person that's keeping things moving. And then when they decide to move on, life changes or they get a better opportunity or it's a different season, suddenly everything around what they were doing falls apart because what you built wasn't a role, wasn't a system. So now you have to rebuild, re-explain, retrain, refix again. A different person, same rebuilding cycle. That's what happens when you hire a person instead of building the structure around a position. A position has clear outcomes, a clear sense of ownership, clear processes and structure, clear metrics. Person can leave, a position stays. If the system lives in your employee's personality, you're going to keep rebuilding from scratch, and that is exhausting. And the third problem that I see happening so often is that you pull yourself out of client work, which is what you want to do, right? You decide it's time, you're done being buried in client work, so you block out CEO time. You say no to a few things. You begin to delegate a little bit more, and for a week or two, it feels really grown up. You're doing it. You're being strategic. You've elevated your business, and then something wobbles. Maybe a client isn't thrilled. A deliverable isn't perfect because you're not directly doing it, and revenue suddenly feels scary and unpredictable. And without realizing it, you just run back in, you slide back in, you take over, you rewrite it, you handle it because it feels safer. And you tell yourself, I'll step out again once things stabilize. But they never fully stabilize. And because the business still depends on you to keep it moving and to stabilize it, you've created a problem that you can't pull yourself out of. There's no structure. So there needs to be a shift. If you're fixing the same problems repeatedly, this is not random. That is a pattern. And most high-performing women in business are exceptional at handling issues that rise up, challenges. The problem is that being good at handling things can keep you stuck handling the same things. You're not building forward, you're maintaining. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to unpack why your business keeps breaking in the same places, what's actually driving that repetition, and how to redesign the underlying structure so you can stop waking up to the same issues. Because the goal is not to become a better fixer. The goal is to stop living in repair mode so you can invest more time working on your business as the CEO to create that steady growth and less time working in your business. So most small business owners and professionals, they're often fighting two battles at the same time. The first one, it's pretty obvious. I talk about it all the time. You're constantly being pulled into the day-to-day grind in the business. Client emails, team questions, deliverables, you've got deadlines, invoices, tech glitches. You wake up with a plan and by 11:30 a.m., you're back to reacting. That's battle number one. But there's a second battle, and this one is a little bit sneakier. It's what happens when you finally carve out time to work on the business. You block out that CEO time. You clear your calendar and you tell yourself, okay, now I'm going to think strategically. And then you manage to fend off the day-to-day grind, and then this happens. Do you ever sit down to work on one important thing, one strategic SEO level thing, and 90 minutes later, you're in 5 different tabs, answering 3 unrelated things, adjusting copy on something, and you can't even remember what you originally sat down to do? It's not necessarily that you're distracted. What's happening is what I call business tentacles. You start with one clear project or intention, and then it grows arms. For example, you sit down to work on your new service page or finalize the pricing. You're working on your business and you're outlining your mastermind, or you're improving your onboarding process for clients. And that's when the tentacles start wrapping around it. The messaging needs tightening. Oh, you've got to actually figure out how to position it more clearly. The offer needs refinement. And then you realize the sales page needs redesigning, or you've got to update some tech to do this, or your client experience needs a bit of a refresh. Each one of these things is valid. Each one is working on your business. Each one feels like really responsible that you need to do this. And you feel like you can't ignore it. So you're following tentacle after tentacle after tentacle. But before you know it, what was supposed to be one clear strategic move and project has multiplied into 12 sub-projects. And now you're 2 hours in. Nothing's finished. And you are exhausted and overwhelmed. But here's the part that nobody says out loud. A lot of times you think you're lazy. You're not lazy. You're not unfocused. You're not incapable. You're just seeing gaps and you're overwhelmed by lack of systems. So tentacles grow. Everything needs fixing because you never set up structure in the first place, and you've got to do a lot of things to get back on track. Oftentimes, when we start to work on one project, we realize that there's a lot of moving parts to it, and that we actually need to fix one thing to set up one structure first. But it is overwhelming. And then we get into what feels like Groundhog Day. You just put a Band-Aid on it. You just want to feel some relief, so you don't actually create a system. And then later you're handling the same issue again. Different details, maybe same pattern. So why does this keep happening? Why do smart, capable women with really great intentions keep getting pulled into and pulled around by tentacles? Why does every project or strategy just multiply? Part of it is that it's structural, that you're missing the structure in so many different areas that the whole thing is interconnected, and it's really hard to build one piece of the structure when there is no structure at all. But the other piece of it is actually about how you are wired. So there's a book that I absolutely love. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F Word. And it's one of the ideas in the book that really changed the way that I think about business and life. The author, Mark Manson, makes this really great point that human beings are built to solve problems, not to eliminate them, to solve them. So we wake up scanning for friction. We look at what's off because we want to know what needs our attention, what can be improved. We are wired to do that. We're looking for problems. And if you're ambitious, if you care about your work, and if people really depend upon you, your brain is tuned in to notice problems, which means when you sit down to work on one strategic thing and 5 other issues pop into your awareness, you're not unfocused. That's your brain doing exactly what it is designed to do, to find and solve problems. And it wants to solve them immediately. And here's the powerful shift that I got from his book. The goal is not to live a problem-free life. The objective is to choose better problems. As business owners, we're never going to eliminate problems. The question is, are you solving the right problems or just the most visible ones? Because there's plenty of problems in business. And if you don't consciously choose the problem you're solving right now, this quarter, this year, your brain will choose for you. And that's where you have the tentacles and you feel all over the place. The loudest issue, the biggest problem, the most uncomfortable thing, the one that gives you the fastest relief, that's often exactly where we start. And it's not necessarily the right place. And then the tentacles take over. So we want to transition cleanly from tentacles and human wiring and finding relief to structure, to repetition. So let's look a little bit by what I mean by relief and the relief trap. So here's the real trap. When something breaks and you fix it, you feel relief. Relief is rewarding. It reinforces, I took care of it, I handled it. But what relief reinforces most of the time is firefighting. Not design. We feel like a hero, and capable women are excellent firefighters, which means that you can stay in this kind of repair mode for years without realizing you're repeating. it's not that you need more motivation. You need to shift your focus. You need to ask, how can I handle this challenge, this pattern? If it has happened before, how can I handle it so it doesn't keep repeating? And if especially it's the third time in 6 months, it's not a one-off event. We think it is, but most of the time it is a system gap. A client might come to me at the beginning of one of our sessions and we're setting the agenda, and it might sound really great what they're saying. They might say, I want to have a regular monthly meeting with my team. And what I want to do, or why I want to do that, is I want to go over all of the clients with the team every week so nothing slips, right? It sounds good. It sounds responsible. And then I ask the question, why do you have to do it in the meeting? Is that the best way to do it? And that's when things get really interesting. For example, a client was running, as I just mentioned, a team meeting that was going on forever. And every single client was discussed in the team meeting every single month. Every single update was shared out loud, same format, same order, same repetition, same information. It felt organized, it felt safe, but it was also draining. Prime time for the team, going over the same information again and again. When we looked at it together a little bit closer, we realized they didn't need to review the client information for every single client every week. What they needed to do was maybe have a better system, a better structure. So instead of continuing the team meeting verbally doing this, what we could do was build a system, a shared, standardized client update document. Every account or client had clear status, milestones, roadblock, and an owner, and really the most pertinent information. And now in the meeting, it wasn't about reporting everything. It was just the updates. It was the decisions, so that it took a fraction of the time and was much clearer because people were focused on new information. Systems are a way for you to plug the holes in a way that is going to be something that is going to solve the problem for a much longer period of time. Now, I want to be clear, a system is not a fancy tool. I think people can get overwhelmed. It's not, a new platform. It's not downloading a new app, although sometimes it might be. A system is just a pre-decided way of the way that something operates. It answers, does this run when we're busy? How are we going to run this system when I'm not in the room, or I'm away, or taking time off? A system runs so that you don't have to keep redeciding every time the same thing happens. You've already pre-decided. Here's what it might look like in real life. A marketing system is not, I'll send emails when things feel slow. Let's send out another email. Instead, it's a protected weekly marketing block, non-negotiables, a defined key performance indicators, not just I want to be more visible, but at the number of conversations you want to be having. It's a system of promoting yourself and letting everybody know, not reinventing your messaging. It's clear ownership. It's knowing who is going to send them out. When do you do the drafts? Who's going to review the content? So that the marking doesn't only exist when your nervous system gets twitchy. The same is true with hiring. It's not about, this person's great because she can do a bunch of things, but really looking at defined outcomes. A system to be a better CEO and to really own your time is not, I'll work on strategy when I have time and I'll squeeze it in. It's creating a weekly operating rhythm, a system where you're reviewing metrics, you're reviewing priorities, you're reviewing these patterns, and you're having a 90-day focus so you know exactly which problems you're solving this quarter. It's the architecture of your calendar that protects your strategic time, not leftover time. It's protected time. It's a habit because it will get eaten if you don't set time aside. And this is where it gets really real. Without systems, your week is just going to get colonized by whoever needs you loudest, by the most uncomfortable issue, by the thing that feels urgent right now. But with systems, your week has boundaries. Marketing has its lane. Hiring has its lane. Client updates have a lane. They have a system. They have a structure. CEO thinking has a set way of doing it. Boundaries are what stop all the tentacles, because tentacles tend to grow when there's no structure, when there are no systems in place. And when there's no structure, everything feels like it's falling apart. But when there is structure, you can say, I'm not going to work on this week. This is not for this quarter. But how do you make the shift when you feel like there's no infrastructure at all? There are no systems, that you're starting from what feels like ground zero. You have to figure out which systems to build first and dedicate 90 days to building out the hiring schedule, or dedicate 90 days, a 90-day plan to perhaps 3 different systems that you're building first. Prioritize and build them out structurally safe, and then move on to the next system. Yes, some things might need to get Band-Aids on them in the meantime, but you'll know that you're working on 3 systems, or 1 system if that feels overwhelming, every 90 days and really building it out. Think of it like I did with one client, which was he loved the idea of thinking of his business of like a engine, that it's got different cylinders and it needs to run on all its cylinders, 3 cylinders. Typically, a business is going to have maybe 10 cylinders, 10 main systems that really get it ticking over and running nicely. So just start thinking of what systems you need. Is it how you do your HR? Is it how you handle the orders that come in from customers for deliverables? Is it how you communicate or run team meetings? What systems do you need? Make a list of them and then start to target 1 to 3 of them every 90 days and really build them out as a strong infrastructure. When you know that you're handling things this way and you're handling them well, not just putting a Band-Aid on them, you can say, okay, that's not for this quarter, that's not for this week. And you can handle it, put it on a back burner list, or just put a Band-Aid on it for now, knowing. And then eventually you're not solving the same problems. The same problems aren't showing up in the same places. Systems are not magic switches. They're built to be tested and refined. It's not going to be perfect right away, but it's going to create breathing space so you can create a well-running engine of your business. And I want to say something important here. Systems create structure, but they don't appear fully formed until you've done that experimentation. They're a hypothesis. They take iteration, they take training, and they take patience to begin to put them together. And this is where a lot of business owners get really frustrated. They build something once and they think, I did it, I invested the time, it doesn't work perfectly. And then they go back to handling everything themselves. But a system isn't something you write once and you just walk away from. It's something that you build in layers. You try it, you test it, and then you begin to monitor and manage and notice what breaks. You refine it, you train your team on it, and then you adjust it again. For example, that client update document I mentioned earlier for running and using in the team meetings, the first version, it wasn't perfect. It was too detailed. And then it was too vague. And then it didn't have clear ownership of who was updating it. And then we added color coding and we simplified it again. That's all normal, part of setting up a system. Hiring systems, they require training. You can't just hand someone a document and expect mastery. You have to have clear explaining of your expectations. You need to review the outcomes. You need to correct gently and repeat and reinforce. Marketing needs systems too, and it's going to take a few cycles to stabilize. At first, you're going to miss the rhythm, or a KPI won't be realistic and you'll have to adjust it. Or the content rhythm or the content itself won't feel natural, or the voice won't feel right. That doesn't mean the system's failing. It means it's being calibrated. And this is where your patience really matters, because when you're used to being the fixer, systems feel slow at the beginning. And honestly, I get it. It's faster to send the email yourself. It's faster to just jump in and fix it. It's faster to just do it. But faster in the moment is slower over 5 years. Systems are slower up front, but faster over time. It's a long game. They compound. And that's the lens that most small business owners never adopt. They think in weeks. Architecture, it takes years. If you build something that works 70% well this month and refine it to 85% over the next quarter, and then you train your team around it, by this time next year, that system is quietly carrying weight that you used to carry on your shoulders. That's leverage. And leverage requires patience. So yes, systems create structure, but structure is built through experimentation, refinement, and repetition. Not perfection, not overnight, and not by expecting everyone to just get it. You're building assets, and assets take time. But once they exist, that changes everything. Wanting to have a problem-free business, this is a maturity shift. And I'll tell you, this is where the penny really dropped for me, because for years I thought my goal was, if I just fix enough things, it'll all calm down. I'll get to the end of the tunnel. If I get the marketing steady, if I hire the right person, if I clean up things, if I work harder for a season, I can just get out ahead of it. Eventually, it will feel smooth. Eventually, I will have handled everything. And then I read something in the book that I mentioned earlier, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F Word, that completely reframed this for me. There is a line in the book that says, the goal is not a problem-free life. The goal is better problems. And when I read that, it was like, oh, I'm not trying to fix everything. I'm not trying to eliminate friction. I'm trying to graduate it. Because if you believe the goal is no problems, you're in trouble. You'll constantly feel like you're failing, because there's always going to be a team issue, a marketing tweak, a revenue fluctuation, a client curveball that's going to hit you, a new level of complexity. Business evolves, especially as you grow to different levels. Growth creates friction. That's not dysfunction. That's growth. It's expansion. The real issue isn't that problems exist. The real issue is repetition. If you're solving the same category of problem over and over again, that's not growth. That's Groundhog Day. That's a loop. So the goal isn't no problems. The goal is fewer repetition of the same problems, different problems, higher level problems. Instead of why does marketing keep disappearing and we're not doing it at all, you move to how do we scale up the marketing that's already working without increasing maybe the number of people that are involved in marketing or the time it takes. Instead of why does this hire need consistent correction, you move to how do we build a better training system. Instead of how do I stop working nights, you then move to the problem of how do I design a revenue model that doesn't depend on me at all. That's the type of upgrade. It's not quieter, it's more strategic. It's not friction-free, it's forward friction. And that shift from trying to calm everything down to choosing better problems to solve is where business starts to feel lighter, because you stop being surprised that problems exist and you start being intentional about which ones deserve your attention. You're no longer chasing that relief and the thrill that you get from that. You're building leverage, and that is a completely different way to operate. So here's the shift. When something pops up, and it will, you don't react, you pause, and you run it through a filter, not an emotional filter, a structural filter. You ask yourself, number one, is this problem directly tied to my current 90-day objective? Is this what I'm focusing on right now? Not is this important in this moment? Not does this need improvement, but is this the problem I already pre-decided to solve this quarter? If the answer is no, you already have your answer. You need to maybe put a Band-Aid on it, put it on the back burner, because if you solve problems out of sequence, you're going to dilute your momentum. Question number 2, has this problem or this type of problem happened before? Not the exact details, but have I dealt with this more than twice in the last 6 months? If yes, you're not looking at a one-off event, you're looking at a pattern. And patterns require structure, so you need to be looking for structure for it, not a Band-Aid. Number 3, what structure would reduce the reoccurrence here? Not eliminate it completely or entirely, but reduce it happening so often. Would a documented workflow reduce this? Would a defined owner reduce this? Would a KPI catch this earlier? Would a pre-launch checklist prevent this from happening? This question forces you out of firefighter mode and into more of a designing a structure and a system mode. And then you decide intentionally, not emotional. Do we fix it now? Because it's really about what we're focused on this quarter. Is it a structural redesign that needs to have its own delegation to another time period or another person? Or do you ignore it if it's just noise that really doesn't matter that much? When you do this, that's the difference between staying busy and moving forward. Because every time you chase a tentacle, you're teaching your brain that urgency wins. Every time you stay with the priority that you're focused on this quarter in the system, you teach your brain that structure wins and your team. And that's how you stop repeating the same cycles, not by becoming more disciplined, but by becoming more system focused. So here is what I want you to take away from this. You're not behind. I'm always telling you this, and it's true. You're not bad at execution. You are wired to solve problems. And the shift is deciding which ones deserve your energy this quarter, right now, and which ones are just tentacles trying to pull you sideways. If you keep fixing the same problems or issues, pause. Don't just fix them. Again, ask, what would it take to stop rebuilding this every single quarter? Because that's the real work. Systems, not being faster, not tending to things that are the loudest. You want stronger structure. And I'll tell you something, this is exactly why I love our Get It Done weekends. Because it's not about cramming more on your to-do list over the weekend. You're really stepping out of the noise long enough to actually build systems. It's a great time to do that. How many times have you caught yourself saying, I just need a solid chunk of time to get this done or started, to finally empty your inbox even instead of scanning it and closing it again, to update your website so it reflects who you are now, not who you were 2 years ago. Knock out the 27 little things draining your mental energy every single day. And that's why I created the Get It Done weekends. A couple of times a year, usually it's right at the end of a quarter, we carve out focused time at these weekends to wrap up your current projects and build a clear, simple plan for the next 90 days. Now, these are small group experiences, intentionally small, so you don't get lost or overlooked or stuck in the back of the room. You get accountability, you get support, you get feedback, and when you hit a wall, you're going to get laser coaching from me to help you move through it. There's no homework before you arrive. You just show up with your laptop, your planner, and your list. Now, maybe it's getting your bookkeeping and your invoicing caught up so that your revenue keeps flowing. Maybe you're cleaning up systems and automations. Maybe you're updating your marketing materials so that you're actually excited to share what you do. Or you're setting up 90 days of social posts and reels so you're ahead of the game. Or maybe you're figuring out your next big thing and you just need the time to do that. Over the weekend, we use the tools I teach, but you learn by doing so you can continue using them after you leave. Tools like focused time blocking, short recharge breaks, celebrating wins as you go. And then we will close the weekend by mapping out your next 90 days so that you're going to go ahead and leave with direction and momentum. You're going to feel lighter, clearer, and most certainly accomplished. Because these weekends are intentionally small, they do sell out fast. You can reserve your spot at the next Get It Done weekend using the link below. And if you register now, I'll include 2 25-minute private coaching sessions with me before the weekend. We'll use that time to decide exactly what you're going to work on and to remove obstacles ahead of time so that when you show up, you're ready to get stuff done. If you've been wishing for some uninterrupted time to finally move things forward, this is it. You can reserve your spot at the Get It Done weekend now so that we can create some serious momentum together. So if this episode hit you, if you saw yourself in that marketing wobble, or if you feel like your hiring doesn't have any systems, or you keep sliding back into client work, then maybe come and spend some time focused on structures instead of just patching holes, and join me at a Get It Done weekend. Now, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit subscribe, because every week here on Weekly Momentum, we're not just talking about working harder. We're talking about building and growing your business, and that doesn't depend on chaos. I want you to have a business that lets you finish your day and actually leave, mentally and physically. You don't need a problem-free business, remember. You need to focus on solving better problems, and you need to focus on systems that are strong enough to hold them. That's how you stop the Groundhog Day loop, and that's how you stop losing the plot, and that's how momentum becomes sustainable. I'll see you in next week's episode of Weekly Momentum.